Once again, welcome. Bob Carroll here. Something just a little bit different this afternoon. We are out at the God Club, but no religious affiliation. The good old days. We meet once a month out at the Tamarack Casino. And our guest today, two very interesting people. Michael Archer, who is a biographer of a book on Senator William Raggio, Bill Raggio. And that's what our program is consisting of today on Bob Carroll and Friends, as we talk to Michael Archer and to Bill Raggio about a very interesting project, and then about some of the things that Bill has been able to do in the, I believe he said 58 years that he's been in public service.
If you ever get out to Pioche and you want to see Senator Raggio, be sure and tune in on that.
I spent 2 weeks there one night in Pioche.
You know, you should have never given, Larry should have never given the senator that microphone, because I understand now he's coming out with a CD, best songs of 75 years by Bill Raggio.
Bob, I'm going to ask you a favor. I know we're going to do a give and take here, but something I'd like to say before we start.
Go ahead.
First of all, thank you for having me back. I was here just a couple of months ago, and I understand I stunk up the place, but anyway, it's so nice that you asked me back. I want you to know how comfortable I feel walking into this group. Now, maybe I'm getting older, but to walk into this young group here and see all these faces that I have known and grown up with here for the most part, I just want you to know how much I value that friendship and all that we have done together over so many years here. And I just came from a funeral. Bert Bertrand, a wonderful guy. Cam Batcher yesterday. We're losing so many good people. And I just want you to know how, thank you for having me back.
Senator, thank you. We appreciate it. A Man of His Word is the title of the book. Michael Archer is the biographer of this book. Michael is with us. Michael, nice to see you.
Thank you.
Your mic's working, everything's good. Mike, tell us a little bit about your background quickly, and then how you got the idea to write a book about Senator Bill Raggio.
I threatened him.
Threatened him, you said.
No, there was no arm twisting. I'm not a native of Reno or Nevada. I moved here in 1978 after serving in the Marine Corps for 3 years in Vietnam, and came to Reno with the Social Security Administration. I was an operations supervisor there in the Reno office for many, many years. I retired in 2003 and wrote a book that I've been working on for many years called A Patch of Ground, Quezon Remembered. It's a memoir of the siege of Quezon, the 1968 communist siege of Quezon, which was a turning point in the war. It was just at the time of the Tet Offensive, and both sides, I think, were trying to hit a home run and get the war over with. Of course, it didn't happen. It went on for many years after that. But wrote the book, and simultaneously, I went to work at the Nevada State Legislature as a Senate attaché, and ended up on the Senate Finance Committee, which was chaired by Senator Raggio at that time. And so the book came out the following session in 2005. I was in my second session on the Finance Committee as a staff member. I knew that Senator Raggio had been in the Marine Corps, and so he was walking out of the committee room one day, and I handed him a copy of A Patch of Ground and, as a gift, thinking, well, that would be the last I would ever hear of it. It was a Friday. As you know, Senator's a voracious reader. He read the book the following day and came back Monday and said, do you think you could do something like that for me someday? And I said, well, I'd be honored to. So a couple of years passed, and when Senator felt time was right, he approached me again. And I had no idea what I was getting into. I had no idea how extensive his career was, that he was a person who I think was moving every waking moment of his life for 60 years.
Did you have any preconceived notions prior to writing the book, and then what impressed you after writing the book? You must have learned some things about Senator Raggio you never knew.
Oh, sure. I of course, sitting in finance committee meetings, I watched the way he would operate, and you can tell that he was very fair, with members of both sides of the aisle. With testifiers, he was very polite. I just greatly admired him, and also, of course, you could not admire the fact that he knew the state budget so completely that he didn't even need to glance at notes. So when I started the project, I knew that I admired him greatly, but I also was like most people who only get their information about government from the news. I had kind of a jaundiced view, I guess, of politics in general. And Senator had all his papers brought over, his many scrapbooks, and I started into it. And over the course of a couple of years, cataloged everything. And in the end, there was an old saying kept cropping into my mind from the French philosopher Michel Montaigne, who said, "No man is a hero to his valet." And I was afraid that was going to happen to me. And every time I turned a page, I thought, oh, okay, here's something I'm not going to, want personally to see. But I interviewed over 60 people. Every newspaper going back to his grandfather Ben Raggio, every mention all the way through to the present. And I came away admiring him more.
Senator, was any kind of a detriment, coming to you and saying, hey, we can't have this on page 327. I mean, don't put that in the book. Or did he pretty much let you do your thing?
Yeah, and he did. And a lot of people ask me that question because they want to know, from the get-go, from the first day I went down to his office, he said, "This is your book. I don't want it perceived to be mine. I don't want anything to do in that respect." Senator has an incredible photographic memory, as you all know, and he would find things in there that dates that from 40 years ago that I would, at first, I'd be honest with you, I said, well, I read that in the paper. Are you sure you're right, Senator? Well, I did that about 3 times and then quit rechecking the facts because he was always right. It was amazing to me. But no, that was the only thing that he did. He'd look at data and correct it, but he never asked me. I would use our many interviews as a guideline, kind of how I was going to outline the book, but that would be the only thing indirectly. But no, he never asked me to change one thing.
I can say I do have a great memory. I can remember stuff that didn't even happen.
Most politicians can, Senator. It's kind of interesting. By the way, Michael and Senator Raggio, I'm waiting. The complimentary press book. I'm waiting for my. You probably sent it to KOL TV. Of course, I haven't been there for 42 years, and my guess is that Ed.
I didn't know you'd left.
Yeah, that Ed Pierce ended up with it, so I'm going to have to ask Ed where it is. All right. So the book really chronicles your. Bill, are you happy with the book?
Well, certainly, but let me first give some credit here. If you have not read the book that Mike Archer wrote that he referenced, A Patch of Ground, about his time in the Marine Corps in Vietnam and Khe Sanh, you need to do it. It's a page turner. You can't put it down. It is the most wonderful book I've read, and this guy is a great author, and that's why I didn't want this book really written, because I didn't think I was of national prominence or anything. But I said, if they're going to do a book, and my wife insisted really, I said, he's the guy that I would like to have do it. And your question was?
My question was, you probably should have read those bills a little closer like you read the guy's book.
Yeah, right.
And we'd all be in better shape. All right, so first of all, where's your Vietnam book on sale? How can people get that?
It's here locally at the independent bookstores, Sundance and so forth. There's also, you can get it through any national online sites like Amazon.
And the title again?
Is A Patch of Ground, Khe Sanh Remembered.
And of course, the book that he's written about Senator Raggio, they have copies here today. I think they brought about 1,027 copies, hoping some of the employees in the casino might buy them too, the Coronos or whatever, so you can get those after our little get-together. But Bill, let's just talk generally about your life. You've had a phenomenal, I can remember first meeting you when you're the district attorney here in Washoe County, and I was over at Channel 8, and the one thing that comes to my mind, the biggest thing, is the Thomas Lee Bean case, and we were talking a little bit about that. Tom Bean still sitting over there, not on death row, I guess, because they have no death row, right, anymore?
Yeah, as far as the death row, yeah, they still have, capital punishment. But as far as Thomas Lee Bean case was concerned, some of you, I'm sure, remember the case where they found this British Olympic skier, Sonia McCaskey, murdered in her home, and it was a brutal murder. Her head had been cut off, her feet had been cut off, her heart had been cut out, and she was stuffed into a box, and she had been garroted with a wire garrote, and we thought we had some crazy guy obviously running around town. And so that took on worldwide significance because of the fact that, you know, she was a British Olympic skier, and you know, the town was very fearful. A couple of weeks went by before we hit upon the fact that, that the perpetrator, this Tom Bean, it turns out, had hawked or pawned the camera. Mm-hmm. And so that led to us finding him and bringing him in, arresting him. And if you'll recall, that was he was pretty cooperative after we chased him down and rearrested him when he tried to escape. So I did something I think was kind of a first. You know, television was in its infancy. This was
1962, something
like
there.
that.
Yeah.
And so I decided, you know, this guy's willing to tell us. So I asked him, would you recreate everything you did? And that included his going in the backyard, seeing her lingerie on the line, the door having been opened, he went in, had stalked her, garroted her, cut her up, stole her camera, took her car, went for a joyride all around the valley, and then brought the car back. And also, I thought, you know, if he's willing to recreate this, we did it. So I went to the local TV station, Channel 4, Jimmy Nichols, and we had him recreate this, and I had the Channel 4 news outfit take a TV of the whole reenacting of the crime. So that was kind of a first.
And the rest of that story is Senator Raggio, District Attorney Raggio, told the press at a press conference, please do not go to the crime scene.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we need to figure things out. So being a young, very naive reporter at Channel 8, I did not go to the crime scene. And of course, Jimmy Nichols at Channel 4 got all this great footage because he did go. And Bill taught me a very good lesson. From then on, if they said no, I said yes. I just got to force my way in. Tom Bean had he been recently released from a juvenile facility?
Well, as you probably realize, he was convicted, sentenced to death. We had a retrial, and he was again sentenced to death. And then the U.S. Supreme Court, in the now famous case of Witherspoon, I can't think of the whole title, declared all of the death penalties unconstitutional and substituted life without parole. So he was resentenced, and as far as I know, he's still serving his sentence.
Tell us about your days of, I'm not pursuing really, but telling Joe Conforti not to come into Washoe County on several occasions. I know you did that.
Who was that?
Joe Conforti.
Incidentally, he's also got a book out that I'm not recommending. Yeah, you know.
By the way, his is called A Man Who Does Not Keep His Word. I just noticed that down there.
Well, okay. My predecessors in the district attorney's office were both Jack Streeter and Dyer Jensen. And at that time, a pimp was considered a vagrant under the law. And he was told by several administrations, you know, run your brothel, but stay out of Reno, stay out of Washoe County. And I reinforced that when I was elected district attorney. This gentleman has quite a large ego. I think that's putting it mildly. And so he decided he was going to run Washoe County rather than the district attorney or whoever. And he persisted in coming into town, flaunting his trade and his companions, and so he was constantly arrested and charged with this, and ultimately threatened me with extortion, and otherwise, unless he was let go and got a public apology. And fortunately, I'm cutting the story short, threatening me with lucid claims and not lucid, illicit claims. And then, so I got him on tape where he admitted that these things weren't true, but that would destroy me. So we arrested him for extortion, and the rest, of course, is what happened.
Wasn't there a suit that you filed against the San Francisco Chronicle?
I did.
As a result of your dealings with Conforti?
Well, he had a friend on the San Francisco News Call Bulletin, a newspaper that existed at that time, and the friend wanted to plead his cause, and the girl involved had been discovered in San Francisco, and by my friend Hal Lipset, who had been hired to investigate this case, because frankly we had some misgivings about how far we could trust local law enforcement. Most of them had been pretty well, let's say, neutralized by special gifts, things of that kind. And so they ran a spurious article that this girl was pregnant and that I was the father. Now, maybe today I'd be proud of that, but at that time I took umbrage, and so we sued. After the case, we sued the San Francisco News Call Bulletin, and at that time got a judgment of $15,000, which was pretty good money in those days. And it was a rare case because for a public official to win a libel case against a newspaper was rare.
Let's move to the early 1970s now. You become a senator from Washoe County. How's the legislature changed since those first days that you were over there to what we just saw recently?
You know, we could talk for a few hours about this. It has changed dramatically, not only the legislature, but the whole political process in America. And I'm probably going to step on some people's toes here, but I'm going to do it anyway. You know, when I first was elected to the state senate in 1972, we had spirited elections. We argued the issues. And when the election was over, we worked together. We knew compromises certainly were necessary in any legislative process, whether it's at the city, county, state, federal level. And over so many years, the first 14 years, as you know, I ended up 10 consecutive terms in the state senate. But my first 14 years in the state senate, I was in the minority. And I frankly didn't know I was in the minority because we didn't have partisanship to the level you have today. We didn't have the sectionalism that we have so deep in this state. And we got things done timely, and we got them done, you know, sure, there was some grousing and there was some yelling once in a while, but you know, we always ended up, I think, working together and in the interest of the state. As the years have gone by, I think that has deteriorated. I think it's true, it started probably at the federal level, even as we sit here today. I think it's terrible that these folks, whether they're far left, far right, whatever the degree of you know, whatever they want to argue about, I think it's unfortunate. I think there's give and take, and I think that's what the majority of America wants. I don't believe that, and look, I'm not going to take anything away from folks who have these deep-seated principles, except to say they need to keep in mind that this is a country where my way or the highway isn't what makes things work. I think you need to you need to have principles. I happen to be a Republican, or I used to be. I'm now a Reno. You know, because I say what I think, and some of you may still hate me for it, but frankly, in that last election, I know I'm going where you didn't want me to go.
That's all right.
But I'm going to tell you this. I still did what I thought was best for the state of Nevada, and that's always been what I've kept in mind. And today, too damn many people that are holding office, only concern is, can I get reelected?
Yeah.
And you know, if you do what you think is right, you may have people disagree with you, but if you deserve to get reelected, you'll get reelected. So that's the big difference today.
Let's just talk quickly about a couple of the old timers who stick out in my mind. Jim Slattery, Milan Brown, Floyd Lamb.
Yeah.
How were they to work with?
You know, they were obviously all different. You mentioned Jim Slattery first.
Slats.
Slats. How many remember Jim Slattery?
Everybody.
Did you ever play golf with him?
Oh, jeez.
Betty. They said he had the best, his left foot was the best putter.
Yeah.
As long as he beat you to the hole. But this guy had, he was lovable, but without scruples. And in those days, each county had one senator. So Story County, where he was from, with a few hundred people, had the same number of senators as Clark County. So Slats would go down, walk into the casino pits,
Harold's Club.
yeah, everywhere, take cigars, and hit them up for golf bags, and you know, he made no bones about being a little bit on the take.
How about Milan Brown?
Milan Brown was a classy guy. Milan Brown, a lawyer from Las Vegas who served as the majority leader of the Senate when I first was there, was a class act. He believed in the whole state. He was very fair, very much knowledgeable about the legislative process, and is in the Senate Hall of Fame, and certainly is very deserving of that recognition.
I can remember Mary Frazzini sticks out in my mind as
Yeah.
an assemblyman. I remember some of the
Yeah.
ladies. Who were the ladies in the Senate?
Well,
at early time you can
first of
remember?
all, Helen Herr. Helen Herr
Clark
was
County,
from
yeah.
Clark County, and she was also a class act, also deserving, and is in the Hall of Fame. And Helen was another one who had the interest of the whole state as a whole, and you could always count on her. They set aside partisanship.
Right.
And probably the biggest example of that, and the best example, was Jim Gibson, who later became majority leader, preceded me as majority leader, and I served with him so many years. But there's another guy. He was a Democrat. Probably they'd run him out of the Democrat Party today because he was, you know, conservative, probably more conservative than I am. But he was one. In addition to Helen, Mary Gojak. I think a lot of you remember Mary,
Yeah.
Mary Gojak, and there's another. So of course, Sue Wagner. Sue Wagner did a great job. I appointed her as chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, and she did a wonderful job over the years. Not a lawyer, but could have been. Yeah.
Tell us
And
about
then-
the one-armed pilot, John Franzway. I don't know, I never realized how he was able to fly, and he had a tail dragger
Yeah,
airplane
yeah.
with one arm.
Yeah, John Franzway represented the area out of Winnemucca as a state senator and Democrat. He was one of the we call him the Gas House Gang. At that time, there was, in addition to John Franzway, there was Snowy Monroe from Elko, and
Rick Blakemore from
Rick
Tonopah.
Blakemore, Floyd Lamb, of course, Floyd. Cliff Young was with me. This was the original members of the Senate Finance. We always joked about John Franzway. He was a great friend of Michael Callahan's, and they were buddies. And when Mike was governor, he would fly, John would fly the governor around. And we always thought, geez, if they have a plane crash, you know, how are they going to figure out these parts? Because he was missing an arm and the governor was missing a leg, and they'd never be able to put them together.
Let's switch gears here a little bit. It's a Thursday afternoon or Thursday evening, I guess, if I can remember correctly, and CBS News interrupted their programming to bring us a bulletin saying that they had information that Frank Sinatra Jr. had been kidnapped. And I know that you were very close to Frank Sinatra Sr. in that. Tell us about how that all happened. And the rumor was that it was a publicity stunt, but that turned out not to be true, right?
No, absolutely. I had come, excuse me, I had come to know Frank, who evidently took an interest in me when I was district attorney. And in my first re-election campaign, he had, as you know, at that time bought Calneva Lodge. And so I was introduced to him by Sonny King, one of the entertainers who was well known around here. And Frank took a liking to me because I had stood up to your friend you mentioned, Joe Conforti. And so he kind of admired me, I guess, also because I happened to be Italian-American. And so anyway, I got a call from him, and he took Harry Spencer with me. He did put together all of the TV for my re-election campaign. So we got to be, Harry was the director, incidentally. In spite of that, I won re-election. But he took Howard, what was the guy? Howard Koch's place. Anyway, so to get to your question, I got to know him quite well. And I got a call one night from Harry Claiborne. Oh, excuse me, Mickey Rudin. Mickey Rudin, who was Frank Sinatra's longtime attorney. And he said, Frank's son, who was at the Lake Tahoe, entertaining, has been kidnapped. And can you meet Frank at the airport? Well, I said, sure. He's going to fly in, and it happened to be snowing like hell. It was really snowing. Yeah. And so I waited at the airport. In comes this plane diving down through the clouds, somehow landed, and I got him in the car, and we were trying to go up to Harrah's at the lake, and we couldn't get beyond Mount Rose Highway. So I said, well, let's go back and let's get set up at the Mapes Hotel. And I think it was Walter Ramage that we talked to at that time, who was the manager. So we got Frank installed in a suite there, and it was that week that we waited to hear from the kidnappers, and of course the FBI moved in, and the rest is history. They left, they paid a ransom, and that week was certainly one I could write a lot about, but being with him and spending that time and finding out a little bit more about the individual than I ever knew.
Bill Raggio runs for United States Senate. How did that come about, Bob?
I came in second in a two-man race. I got, you know, and that's in the book. I was bound and determined to run for governor in 1970, and Ed Fike was the lieutenant governor. At that time, we were 20 points ahead of anybody that the Democrats could put up.
For governor?
For governor. And even a guy named Michael Callahan, we were 20 points ahead. Well, I was set to go, and got a lot of bad advice that I listened to, including Paul Laxalt, a fellow named Richard Nixon, a fellow named Spiro T. Agnew. I don't know whatever happened to him. And anyway, I got talked out of running for governor. It's my fault. I said, at the time, they said, let Fike run because he can win. I said, he can't win. And I don't want to be disparaging, but I said, after Ed Fike says hello to you, he doesn't know what to say. And turned out pretty true. So anyway, the rest is history. I lost the U.S. Senate race, and probably and Howard Cannon and I later became very fast friends, and certainly the public was right. Howard Cannon did a great deal for the state and deserved to be reelected.
And over the years, every time I've seen Bill Raggio, I still refer to him as governor because I think he should have been and would have been a great governor. Really would have.
Thank you.
Let's see.
I'd have been the best governor money could buy.
Well, we're kind of winding down our radio broadcast here and our television. By the way, was kidding earlier about Pioche. This will be on channel 213, the Reno City channel, and it runs several times a day. And also I want to thank my friend Larry Kirk over there who set the sound system up. Larry's one of our God Club members, and certainly a great guy. Larry, we do appreciate it.
That's our program. We certainly hope you've enjoyed it. Thank you for being here. I'm Bob Carroll, and please join us next time. Thank you for watching.